This is part 2 of my budget riverboat experience.
Part 1 describes the unique features of this longer than a football field riverboat. You'll also get a glimpse in that first video of the drop-dead delicious meals that were served during the 8 days of the river cruise.
The food plays a very important role in your riverboat experience, but sometimes you need to make a decision about those meals because you'll be stopping at ports. So the decision is,
should I get off the boat and miss a few good meals? Or should I stay on the boat and pack on a few more calories? Of course, your decision may depend on the weather outside.
Who's to decide?
So let's go. TUI riverboat cruises usually originate in the UK, and then the group is flown over to where the riverboat cruise begins. For me, I booked the Rhine Explorer that goes down from Amsterdam to Basel, Switzerland. If you're not flying over from the UK with the rest of the boatload of people, it is recommended that you arrive a day or two early in Amsterdam so that you make sure that you're going to be there when the boat leaves. Amsterdam deserves at least 3 days anyway. As I mentioned in part 1 of this 2-part series, I booked my passage with the Travel Village group. They deducted the cost of that flight over the channel from my fare. I ended up booking through an agent because I found there were problems trying to connect directly with TUI from America. In turn, since I was already going to be in Amsterdam for a few days, I was really looking forward to spending a little time with my grandson, who lives there with his darling family. I'm always looking for unusual travel experiences. I found that with Booking.com, I could stay in a boat that was berthed in Oosterdok. And conveniently, that floating hotel was not too far from where the TUI riverboat was docked, also in Oosterdok. But there was a problem to solve. What would we do with all our luggage from the time we had to check out of our boat hotel until we checked into our new boat hotel? Don't you just love it when you find the perfect solution to a temporary problem? The very impressive Nemo Science Museum was located right between where our small floating hotel was and the new riverboat floating hotel. It took us about 3 minutes to roll our suitcases over to the Nemo Science Museum. We asked if it would be possible to leave our suitcases there while we explored the museum. No problem. The kind lady who sold us our ticket wheeled us over to a little closet where they locked up our suitcases and backpacks too. What an absolutely awesome museum this is. My grandson and his family spend a lot of time there. It's not just for children, it's for the whole family. The Nemo has 4 floors of exhibit space packed with all kinds of fascinating and interesting information. I was really interested in this one because I'm looking into getting a hearing aid. Look and see what your friend's face or your spouse's face looks like when it's combined with yours. A secret discovery for you is that museums usually have the best museum cafes with interesting food. When it was time to make our way over to the riverboat dock, there was a handy bridge that provided a shortcut, and it went right past Booking.com big corporate building. I have been supporting them with bookings for many, many years now. As I pointed out in the previous video, all you have to do is walk up to the opening doors and register your name at the front desk, show them your ID, and you're given a key card to go down to your room, or up to your room, as the case may be, paying the base price for a standard room. Of course, you know, our room was the lowest deck. But the cabin was surprisingly large and had 2 quite large portholes. The picture window and the French balcony rooms were above us. I showed you those cabins in my previous video, as well as a tour of the rest of the boat in part 1 of my budget river cruise experience. There are so many wonderful things to do in Amsterdam. Take a harbor cruise to get a duck's eye view of the city. Heads up, if you're planning to go to the Anne Frank house, you will need to order tickets a few weeks in advance. Warning, be sure to stay out of the bike path. Fortunately, when we arrived at Cologne, The islet docked right in front of where you can see the cathedral towers. However, unfortunately, because of a malfunction in the locks, we arrived several hours behind schedule. The setting sun cast a beautiful glow on the side of the cathedral. Construction for this cathedral began in 1248, but was halted in the years around 1560. It remained dormant for about 300 years until construction began again in 1814. But wait, then, since it was smack adjacent to the central train station in Cologne, it received some direct hits during World War II. This is the newly restored treasury room, but the only gold I saw was on the walls. I would have preferred to snap a quick picture of the cathedral and then rush over to the Ludwig Museum that looked a lot more intriguing to me. I'll just have to go back to catch that wonderful experience. Our fourth port was Koblenz, where the Rhine meets the Moselle River. I have to admit that we got all turned around because when we got upstairs to disembark, we had parked on the Moselle instead of the Rhine. Where were we? Hiding, of course. Actually, right there if we were a battleship waiting to attack instead of being a riverboat. I think the biggest attraction would be the Ehrenbreitstein Fortress. It's the second largest in Europe, but it really wasn't the fortress I was interested in. It was the Seilbahn that you just walked into to take you up to the fortress. Very cool. It's easy to get a ticket for your phone, and then you just walk onto those marvelous little cages that whisk you up and just keep going until you get up to the top and just walk off again. I found that to be amazing. Not to disparage the fort, but I got a lot more kick out of the Seilbahn. This was the inside of the fort, but I prefer, as an art student, this view by Turner. From his perspective in this picture, it looks like he was interested in a lot of other things besides the fort. You go, Turner. That's what I think. My friend really got excited when she saw the bakery in town. She was born in Germany, and there's nothing like a great bakery and delicious bread to a German. We secured our treasures and carted them back to the boat. Port number 5 was Mannheim. This postcard doesn't indicate it, but Mannheim is mostly an industrial city. And because of its manufacturing and important port, it was mostly flattened during World War II. There was only one room of this beautiful Mannheim palace left standing after the Allied bombers got finished with it. For that reason, it's very enticing to take the half-an-hour ride over to Heidelberg. Since we have both spent a lot of time in Heidelberg, I thought I'd love to go over to the mall across the river from the boat, but we compromised by walking over to the Neckar River. It may be hard for Americans to understand why people who have lived in Europe are so very passionate about bread. We almost knocked people down to get inside of this Aldi store in Mannheim. We were almost hyperventilating because everything looked so delicious and a fraction of the price we would have to pay for bread like that in America, even if you could find it. Does it sound silly? This is one of the main reasons I love to go to Europe.
Straight out of Germany.
Yeah.
Mannheim is my city.
We ended up strolling through the town over to where the Neckar River lies. Unfortunately, we did not run into another Aldi along the way or even coming back. Nevertheless, it was a very relaxing walk and we saw some interesting history. We're clicking off the ports now, and this is Strasbourg, number 6. To get to Strasbourg, however, you must first go to a little German town across the border in Germany. I suggest you walk there with a group from the boat. There's strength in numbers, and there's usually somebody who knows what they're doing. You can buy a tram ticket there for about €2 on the D, as in David, line, and that will take you directly into Strasbourg. Count the stops as you go. There will be 9 of them. When we got off, I took a picture of this information sign. I thought it would help me get my bearings. No, actually, it didn't help me much with all those twisty streets. Here's where Duolingo came in. I just kept asking questions, where to find this or that. I really liked this plaque near the merry-go-round. It shows our founding fathers and the Declaration of Independence. The tourist dense city of Strasbourg is noisy, has traffic, and is congested. Although it's famous for its half-timber buildings, it's very touristy and expensive. I'll show you a darling little town at the end of this video that far surpasses Strasbourg. In the meantime, I just gave you a tiny glimpse of what you'll find here. I was determined to see at least one contemporary museum on this trip. As you can see, it was only €3.50. I found this interesting project in the children's area. The kids must have been instructed about the pictures on the wall, and then they did cutouts to create modern art of their own. After that, it was time to head back to Cologne and then walk to the boat. So I just asked somebody where the train station was, rather than trying to find an elusive tram stop. There you go. I don't give you the same old that everybody else gives you about Strasbourg. Breisach, Germany. What a lovely little town. But not so in 1945 when Allied bombers flattened 85% of it. On the hill across from the cathedral on the other side gives a plaque with the story of Breisach on it. That lookout gives you a great view of the town and the cathedral across the way. It's a nice little climb up to the cathedral, and the day we were there was a little windy but so very lovely. Steps are everywhere all over the town that lead up to the cathedral. St. Stephen's Münster seemed to be the most photo-worthy structure in the town. It had been lovingly restored following the destruction given to it during the war. No, wait, here's a trending event that's happening after we leave. Darn, we're going to miss it. Basel, our last stop. One of my Airbnb guests really questioned why I would want to go to Basel. So as soon as we got there, we made our way to Saint Louis train station and bought a ticket for the short ride to Colmar, France. Colmar's train station is absolutely gorgeous, just like the rest of the town. We booked a very affordable apartment right in the middle of the city. As you can see, it was decorated for Halloween. Maybe this is why we got such a good price. We were on the 3rd floor and up one more steep flight of stairs to the bed in the attic. This is something I find interesting. Many buildings display a burned timber that represents a fire that had once taken place there. We passed by this every day as we walked up the stairs. But we really had a great view from our window. A minimum of 3 days in Colmar is my recommendation. The half-timber houses in La Petite Venise keep going on and on and on. You can take a boat ride down the canal. This is what fairy tales are made of. The highlights of Colmar. Let me see. There were just so many. If I had to pick just 3, I would say the Chocolate Museum. One of the best put together museums I have ever seen. Especially for Americans, the Musée Bartholdi was very interesting. He is the sculptor who was responsible for the Statue of Liberty. My friend and I both love markets, and Market Day in Colmar is every Thursday. They also have an indoor market that's open every single day except Monday. Speaking of food, don't miss the tarte flambée. This mushroom and onion variety from Schwendi was to die for. Early November, and the flower boxes are still radiant with blooms. We also took a day trip to Hout Königsberg's Castle, but that's an extensive video for another time. In the meantime, if you want to check out an affordable cruise, try Tui. I've listed some links below. And please let me know if this video has been any help to you. I'd appreciate your feedback. If you like this video, I would really love you to click on the thumbs up and subscribe if you want to. Until next time, bye-bye.